Good evening, everyone. A big hello to beautiful people. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for our second wellness event. The theme this evening is menopause and diabetes. We're also fortunate enough to have some financial advice thrown in and some entertainment from a wonderful poetress. My name is Sarah Inverary from Venus Promotion, and I'm presenting this evening with Patricia Wharton from the Let's Talk show. Before we start our evening of inspiration and entertainment, I would just like to remind you that this event is being recorded. If you'd like to ask a question, feel free to do so via the chat. If you wish to remain anonymous, then send me a message directly. I don't think there's anything else from me to mention in terms of housekeeping because you all are in your own homes or wherever you are. So all I would like to just say now is big welcome, big hello, big cheers and thanks to Patricia Wharton, who will be hosting the evening this evening. Thank you. Over to you, Patricia.
Wow, good evening, everybody. It's Friday evening. It's dull outside, but it is sunshine in the Let's Talk show and Venus Promotion event tonight. It is all about wellness. It's all about how most of us are probably struggling to keep well and to keep our minds clear and sane, whatever that looks like in a menopausal world. So if you have joined us tonight, it's probably that you either are menopausal, you think you might be, you're at the other end, you're premenopausal, or you just kind of want to find out, what is this big M that perhaps my mother never told me about? Or you might be here because you think you might be diabetic and you want to find out how our very own inspired diabetic managed to reverse that awful illness in 105 days. But whatever the reason, we welcome you and we thank you for joining us. It is our absolute pleasure to have you with us this evening. And I'm super excited. We've got some amazing guests coming up this evening. So thank you to Sarah, who is the co-producer of the events that we do. The lineup tonight is going to be varied. It's going to be interesting. And I'm sure you're going to have some fun, but you're also going to leave with some useful information. Or maybe you'll come back to us and say, I didn't actually get that bit. But whatever you do, make sure you enjoy tonight. All of the useful information, how you can contact our guests, are going to be in the chat. So do have a look in the chat and see how you can contact our guests. If, however, you don't manage to do that, you can contact myself or Sarah. Our email addresses were attached to the Eventbrite. So for comfort and for ease and for clarity so that everybody can hear, can I ask everybody, if you haven't already done so, to please put yourself on mute. Cameras open's really great because everybody can see everybody, but just think about those large movements that you might make that you might not want everyone else to see. And so you might want to put your cameras off. But nonetheless, we are going to kickstart the evening. So this evening looks like this. Coming up very soon, we have two amazing ladies from a fantastic organization. They are absolutely superb. We've got Maureen Anderson and Samantha Ellis, and they're going to be talking to us about menopause. After that, we have an opportunity for you to have your questions answered. So as they're talking, please remember to put your questions in the chat. Then we're going to have the fabulous Lyndon. He's going to be up and he's going to tell us all about diabetes. And I'm sure you're going to have lots of questions to ask him because he's fabulous. He also has a fabulous book. That information will also be in the chat. Then we're going to have a brief interlude by the fabulous Natasha, who's actually an insurance angel. What a fantastic title. She's going to be talking to us all things insurance. And then the way that we like to end our events is with a bit of entertainment, and some fabulous poetry. So we have the amazing poetress, Miss Beverly Campbell. So don't go away, stay till the end. So I'm going to now bring to our virtual stage, because of course it is a virtual stage. I'm going to bring to our virtual stage our first guest tonight. Our first guest is Maureen Anderson. Along with Maureen, we have also the fabulous Samantha Ellis. So I'm going to ask them to unmute themselves so that you can hear all of the fabulous things that they have to say. So Maureen, welcome to the Let's Talk Show and Venus Promotions Evening of Wellness Part 2. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting us on today.
Oh, thank you for spending your Friday evening with us. Up next, we have Samantha Ellis. Samantha, welcome to the Let's Talk Show and Venus Promotions Wellness 2. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having us today.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. So, menopause, the big M. I didn't have the opportunity for my mother to tell me anything about menopause. And I don't remember any of my other elders ever talking to me about menopause. So I've been learning as I've been going along. But before we talk about menopause, Maureen, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I am Maureen Anderson, originally from Birmingham. I can see my friend Dennis in the house. Hi, Dennis, from Birmingham. I am one of 10 siblings. My parents unfortunately passed away last year during the summer, so it's been quite a difficult year.
Condolences.
Thank you. But at the same time, I've been transitioning through this interesting phase called menopause. I am a mother, a grandmother of 2 wonderful girls who now live in Portugal. And I'm a parenting consultant. And hopefully with experience will be this menopause expert in time, based on my own experiences. And I'm also the host of the Kitchen Table, which is a space to come to for people who have experienced multiple loss.
Fabulous. We're going to come back to some of those that you have mentioned, but thank you so much for your introduction. Samantha, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yes, I am Samantha. I'm a wellness coach. What does that mean? It's a bit like having a personal trainer on steroids who thinks about lots of other things other than just how fit your body is. I work with natural solutions, and I'm very influenced by the traditions of ancient health philosophies, including African and Chinese inspired medicine. And that's why they call me Yin Yang Samantha.
Yin Yang Samantha, I like that. And I guess that's really important because more and more people I find are kind of looking at alternative ways to kind of make ourselves well, as we will be hearing a bit later about how Lyndon did the very same. So it's really important to at least have some options because often I think our parents would have probably said, since coming to the UK anyway, that they'd go to the GP and the GP would prescribe some medication and they'd take it. But before they came to the UK, they went out into the back garden and got the bush and the bitters and, you know, they did kind of all of that. And then they've now come to the UK and changed as much of us have done. I think you'll agree. So that's really important. So your organization has a very, very interesting name. And I shall tell you what happened to me earlier, which is why the name of your organization is so phenomenal. So Maureen, tell us the name of your organization.
So it's called Melanin and Menopause Moments. And it was chosen because we wanted to reflect women like us, really, because when I was searching for information on menopause, if you were to Google, you wouldn't actually see Black women of colour talking about menopause. You possibly have to scroll down on the search page for 2 or 3 pages before you'd see a caricature of a Black or woman of colour. Things are changing recently, like this year, there's been a lot more women of colour present in the media, which is a good thing. But the conversations, as you said in part of the introduction, wasn't a conversation that we would necessarily have had with our elders. Menopause has particularly in the West, being a subject that was quite taboo. A lot of shame around menopause, getting older. And so our mothers and perhaps our grandmothers in this country would not have perhaps had the language to express what they were going through. You know, we just kept on going on, regardless of how draining it may have been for us, no matter how uncertain it was. I think we put the mask on and just continued, you know, the daily, day-to-day work.
I think also a point to mention, Maureen, is that you've been quite clear about, first of all, the beginning of the title of your organisation is Melanin. And then you said you scrolled down and looked specifically for, you know, women that represent women of colour, African, Caribbean diaspora. And that's been really difficult to find. Why do you think that's important? Why can we not just look at the generic stuff? Why do you think there's a difference?
Well, this is definitely something that Samantha will elaborate on. However, from experience and from some of the conversations we've had with women that have been on our first aid for menopause courses, many women have said that they didn't think they actually experienced menopause.
Sure.
They didn't hear it discussed. They haven't seen any women that's talking about it. So this is something that, in their eyes, was something that was expressed by other people, particularly Caucasian women, talked about it a lot more, but it didn't happen to us, which is a fallacy. You know, it happens to all of us, but because it wasn't discussed or it wasn't visible, they then just thought that this is just, you know, something and nothing, no matter how distressing it was for them.
And I think that's true. I think there are some people who still will say, oh, I haven't experienced anything. And I think some of that is because they don't actually know that what they are experiencing is as a result of menopause. And I've been menopausal for a good number of years now, and I'm finding out some stuff. I don't know if they're new things or whether they're just things I didn't realize before, but almost anything that happens to me now, that's a change. I Google to see if it's menopause. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Samantha, because maybe Samantha, you can help us with answering the question that I just posed to Maureen, and why there is a difference and what the importance is. So we're going to hand that over to you.
Right. Yeah, it's a really interesting question. The experience that we have in terms of our chemical changes internally are unique each time. Each woman has a unique journey through menstruation and reproductive years until actually post-menopause. It's all unique. Everyone's biochemistry is different. So that's why certain medications work for some people and not for others.
Sure.
And the same with alternative. But the really important external factor that influences how our menopausal journey looks is down to the stressors. And a recent paper was released showing that melanin-rich women, or women of color, from around the globe, but women of color in comparison to Caucasian women actually experienced more symptoms for longer and a varied range of symptoms. So there's more of a mixed bag of stuff that we're going to be experiencing because of the level of stress we may be under. And particularly in the diaspora, let's make that clear, particularly for us living in the diaspora.
That kind of feels like as if we don't have enough to deal with. We got to have menopause in a completely different way. We've got more stresses, and so it could be longer, and the symptoms could affect us differently. So menopause really is it's when we don't have our fabulous gynecologist who we've had on previous shows, but menopause is when you've stopped menstruating for 12 clear months. So in the beginning, you might have intermittent menstruation and think, oh my goodness, am I pregnant at this ripe old age? And that's probably as scary as being menopausal. So there are a number of different symptoms, and there are loads of symptoms that people go through. But what you're saying is that for us, we go through different symptoms. So can I ask, I'm going to pose the question to both of you, then you can kind of decide who's the best person to answer it. What was it that made you actually say, do you know something? There needs to be a group, and I think I'm going to kickstart it, and this is what I'm going to call it.
Okay, so that's my question.
Okay.
So last summer, I was having some sleepless moments. Probably the previous year, I probably had one hot flush in the middle of the night and thought, this is interesting. I'd initially asked my sisters, I have 4 other sisters, if they were going through the menopause, and they assured me that they were not, and that I should not wish this upon them. I only have one sister that's younger than me, by the way. The rest of them are older. And so they denied going through this experience. I say denied because, they're older. They would have been going through it.
Okay, sure.
But because they had said they were not, I thought I need to then ask my network of women, and I sent about 60 of my dearest friends a message to say 60,
okay,
and said, does anybody want to join a chat and have a conversation about menopause, because I needed some information. And they all responded positively, and that's how I created the group. That's how I named the group, because I reached out to all of my Black friends. And Sam was one of those friends that I had invited into the chat, and we had known each other for a few years, and knowing her specialist area, we then collaborated, and with all of her expertise and her determination, she then created this wonderful program that we have rolled out as a menopause course for women, and are doing the same for men. So we're not just focusing on our women, which is really important and key. We're supporting the men who love us.
That's brilliant. We're going to hear a bit more about the course, so we'll come back to that. So just to begin with, so was this group a WhatsApp group? Was it just a WhatsApp group?
Yes.
Okay. And so you would just put different messages in about things you're experiencing?
Yes, and what they are using to resolve some of those issues. So anything that women have tried, whether it was fasting, whether it was lemon balm, whether it was black cohosh, whether it was evening primrose, they would put it into the chat, and we would then attempt to experiment with some of these solutions in our own way for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and then feed back to the group.
Brilliant. So Samantha, let's go to you then. What were some of the things that people were posting in the group? What were some of the symptoms? What were some of the challenges that they were having?
Well, it's interesting because normally when we hear about menopause, everyone knows that hot flushes are related to menopause. So actually 2/3 of women in general will experience that, and more of us that are melanin rich will experience hot flushes. And night sweats are linked to that, and the fogginess and the irritability. And so these were kind of like standard. But then other things started coming into the group. And even on this journey with Maureen in the WhatsApp group, I realized that there were some other things that I've been going through over the last 10 years that are actually directly linked.
Can you share some of those with us?
Yeah, I went through a period where I couldn't walk. And I was walking with a walking stick.
Wow.
And I was referred to specialists. I was a mature student at university studying a master's, don't remember anything of the course at all. Major anxieties, just thinking I can't do this, missing deadlines. Yeah, having to engage in additional support to get me through it. I thought it was down to a recent bereavement, but essentially on reflection, the bereavement would have been a stressor, and my symptom was memory loss. Short-term memory loss.
The walking, just tell us a bit more about that. Did you suddenly just wake up one day and just not be able, or was it a gradual deterioration?
It was a gradual deterioration. First of all, sensory issues, like I wasn't receiving the messages properly about hot and cold or smooth or whatever. Then numbness, swelling, inability to move the joint, and then just literally felt like I had broken toes. I couldn't walk. My field of work is health and fitness, so being able to move
is useful.
So very useful. And I would be moving many hours through the day, and basically I had to take long-term sickness off work because I couldn't perform. Half of my job was delivering, the other half was developing programs. So
that's quite severe. That's quite a severe symptom. And like you said, often one of the things is that many people just think, oh, actually it's hot flushes and that's it. Hot flushes and you're a little bit ratty. But actually the hot flushes can be such that you feel as if you're suffocating, as if parts of your body have reached up to this part of your body, and you're suffocating and you can't breathe. The fogginess, I don't know, Maureen, were you working when you started to experience some of your menopausal symptoms, or were you not working at the time?
Right. Interestingly enough, as Sam has said, she was walking with a walking stick. Prior to any of the hot flashes that I experienced, I also ended up walking with a walking stick. I suffered with some lower back pain from years before. However, this experience, which resulted in me walking with a walking stick, was, and it's quite graphic, it actually was like a hot poker was being stuck inside of me, and I couldn't move. In going to the doctors, they just said, oh, you know, maybe it's a little wear and tear of your back. It would bring me to my knees. It would make me feel nauseous. But they prescribed pills to alleviate the pain, which it worked for a little while. And it's only in talking with Sam and us like really doing our own timeline of change that we have realised that this is directly correlating with the hormonal changes in our bodies. The doctors are not.
So was it so that you both worked it out yourself that it was related? You weren't given that information by the GP?
No, we were not given any information by the GP. We worked it out for ourselves in the conversations and the timeline, which is really important. And we're really thankful that we've been able to have these in-depth conversations with ourselves and with other women who are also experiencing these physiological changes. As I said, the doctors are not overly qualified in the area of menopause and hormonal changes. So we have to find out for ourselves, and then we have to share the knowledge.
So that makes it really worrying. Can I ask people to remember that the chat is there if you want to share symptoms, you know, if you want to have any questions answered, please do that. And Sarah will come back on and read those questions out. Also, remember that if you want to remain anonymous, if you message directly to Sarah, as opposed to just messaging to everybody, and then it will be shared, because it's really important for us to use this time so that we can interact. Okay, so you guys have had some symptoms walking. That's quite a major one. The fogginess is also one that makes you think. I've written a piece called "Menopause, Are You Mad?" because I just couldn't understand what was really happening to me as an individual who was educated at such a senior level, who was working in a senior position, who had also, like you were saying, Samantha, you were studying, you know, I couldn't understand why I couldn't remember anything. I didn't know how to use any of these new software that was coming in. And the people that I was managing that were younger than me, their memory was amazing. And I just couldn't understand why I just looked like somebody who was completely unorganized, totally all over the place, and shouldn't be in that job with my name on the door saying that I was the manager. So you've spoken about melanin, you've spoken about menopause, you've spoken about moments. And you said that you've come together and you've now produced a course. Tell us a bit about the course that you've produced.
Sam, do you want to answer?
Yeah, our first course is a first aid to menopause, and is directly created to support the women that are traveling through the journey. And I don't mean the pause itself, I mean the journey, the whole journey, which could take up to 20 years. Yeah. And we break it down into problem solution, but we create a safe space. So we share and we thrive and we mentor each other, and we learn more about not just our own journey, but also the journey of others. Because sometimes you feel like you are crazy. And I have had moments of feeling like I am crazy, or imposter syndrome, or all those other things that you've said. But also just like, what do you mean you couldn't walk? I thought I was really going through a bad thing, but you couldn't walk. So it's where you get a sense of evaluating where you're at, and then actually how strong your journey is. Not everyone has a difficult journey. 25% of the women will sail through, but 75% of us will not. And another 25% of those of us will have very, very severe experiences. severe, so that they may be sectioned, they may lose their jobs, they may have relationship breakups, all sorts of things going on, commit crimes, and be imprisoned.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I guess that's the thing, isn't it? It's thinking that actually I'm a little bit short-tempered, but some people actually say I felt psychotic. I was dangerous. I felt like I was a danger to other people and a danger to myself, because there is kind of the high moods, the low moods, and those can all happen in 1 minute. As with the kind of the hot flush, you will be hot and then you will be cold, and then you'll be cold and you'll be hot, and I've been cold and hot all at the same time, and I can't quite work out whether I want to wind the window up or put it down. So how long is the course, Maureen?
Course for the first aid for menopause is 8 hours over 4 weeks. So that is 2 hours per session on a Tuesday evening.
And how is it delivered, Sam?
We're on Zoom presently, and it's a safe space, private entry, and the 2 hours fly by, even though it's like, oh, it's after work. It flies by, and we get some lovely messages after the session from the sisters, and we keep in touch during the week as well. And
what's the length of time that how many weeks does it last for? Sorry,
just 4 weeks over, so it's just a month's commitment, 2 hours a week.
Okay. Maureen, what has been one of, aside of not being able to walk, which is a huge challenge, what has been a sort of a regular symptom of menopause that you found difficult to deal with?
I perhaps wouldn't use the word difficult, because I'm actually, I'm quite a curious person. So I'm usually fascinated with the different changes. So I will talk about them or write about them or discuss with Sam to go, oh, this is an interesting thing. I didn't realise this was going on. And so we'll talk about it and we'll discuss it with the other women. Going back to my walking problem, that was, for probably about 3 months of debilitation. I've never had that again. So I'm clearly working through, and my hormones are settling. What do I have quite that interests me? I would say the thing that's probably interested me the most is a change in smell in my own body odor, which is one of those obscure things that we don't talk about. Often women are very embarrassed to admit that their body odor has changed. That's something that I'd like, women to start talking about, and so that we can, discuss what we can do to change those. So sometimes I might go, what is that? Oh, okay. This is interesting. And I think about what I've eaten. Is it as a direct consequence of food that I've eaten that's not agreeing with me now? Because understanding what food works for your body as you are going through this change in your life can have a massive impact. So smell, my body odor is interesting at times. For everybody that's listening, I don't stink. It's just interesting. It's like it's a different perfume. It's like my perfume has changed. And I've noticed that, and it's not all the time.
What's fabulous about the way in which you're dealing with or working through the menopause is that I believe that our mindset plays a big role in how we get through these 10 years, 20 years, or kind of whatever it is. And I remember saying to somebody, oh, we're going to have some laughs about menopause. They were furious. They were like, what is funny about menopause? And there were several things that I find funny about it. But some people are like, that's not something to be laughing about. And they really weren't impressed. Sam, tell us some of the things that you would want to say to a woman who's kind of just coming into menopause and all of these things are happening to her. What sort of health tips might you give her for some of the symptoms?
We work on a lifestyle pyramid in the course, and we look at those and how we give you top tips about what you can do. So it's intervention medicine, I call it. And it can have a marked difference on the way that you're traveling the road. So it would be like having a map, as opposed to, I fancy going over there, and then trying to figure out how you're going to get there. Am I going to go by bus, by bike? Am I going to walk, take the car? Am I going to take the scenic route? So that's what the course does. essentially for everyone.
So it's like an individual, you get a personal map, because everybody experiences menopause different, right?
So everyone experiences the journey differently. So if you wanted bespoke, then you would maybe engage with me as a wellness coach on a one-to-one, which there are several women that have done the course and then gone on to do more specific work. We give general information. So what might work for you might not work for Maureen. And that's where bespoke might be more appropriate. But in general, having a heads up on XYZ is like, oh my gosh, I never realized some basic things. But like you said, mindset is a major thing. So we also work on that too. So it's not just the physical stuff, it's the mindset stuff. In fact, the research showed that the more prepared you are, the more likely you are to reduce the symptoms, only because you're less anxious about what you're seeing and experiencing. So yeah, we work with that as our foundation. That's based on some research that was conducted over a 15-year period of thousands of women from all racial backgrounds. So that's fundamental. We're moving with that.
Because Maureen mentioned about odor, which is something that people generally don't go, oh, by the way, I'm not smelling too great, this has been impacting me. People generally don't say that. And menopause can be kind of taboo in any case. And I think for some women, it signifies the end of. And they feel a bit like, okay, that's me. I'm no longer able to produce. I can't become a mother if I wanted to. My body's changed now. I'm overweight. I'm not as attractive. And I don't actually remember very much. But I think if we change it around, because some people can feel very liberated. And I've actually felt very liberated alongside all of the other stuff. I felt very liberated, like I've left my job and I work for myself and I kind of decide how I'm gonna live my life.
Yeah.
I think that that's largely to do with this massive change of menopause. I don't worry about the same things. That might not be beneficial for everybody, but it works kind of okay. It works okay for me. So Maureen, I'm also a parent and a grandparent. It's amazing. And I'm also a parenting practitioner. Tell me what you might say to a parent who's going through menopause in terms of their parent-child relationship.
Okay, so when I was practicing for a local authority, menopause was not on my agenda. Most of the young people and the parents that I would work with were parents of teenagers who were having conflict. They were not. So I would go through, particular strategies with them. What I know today is that one of my primary questions would be, I know the women's ages or the parents' ages, but I would never ask that specific question. Do you think you may be menopausal? Because your hormones are changing at the same time as your teenagers' hormones are changing. So, of course, they're in a situation that's heightened conflict. We are miscommunication because our bodies are out of sync, our hormones are out of sync. So, of course, there's going to be conflict because we haven't spoken about it. So I would be asking and encouraging both parent and child to go back to basics, to talk about what's going on for them, talk about the things that's confusing them, and to actively listen to the other person. The more we can understand each other, the more that we can move forward with greater awareness. And I would say that this is a normal part of growing up as an adolescent and growing older as an adult.
Sure, that's amazing. I do want to go to the kitchen table, because whilst that's not the designated topic for this evening, I just kind of want to touch on that because that's something that's happening, and it's happening to people who are also menopausal. So just tell us a little bit about the kitchen table.
Absolutely. So the kitchen table is born out of the loss of my parents, as I mentioned. And I see this, it's all wrapped into one thing, which is change. As you said, that the menopause is giving you some creativity. For me, the menopause, the loss, is about legacy. What can I do with what I have in the time that I have available that will make a difference to other people, but also remind me of the journey of my parents? So the kitchen table is a space to come together to talk about multiple loss. Now, that multiple loss does not necessarily have to be the loss of a loved one, although in my case, my focus is on my parents, but it could also be on this change of life. For others, it could be the menopause, it could be the loss of a job, it could be because they've relocated, but they've had a couple of things that's caused them some distress that they are grieving about, that they are concerned about how they're moving forward. So it's a virtual space at the moment. It will be, hopefully I'll be able to roll it out more nationally. But whilst it's virtual, it means that people from around the world can access that support.
And how often do you get around the kitchen table?
And I'll be launching that in July, in the anniversary after my parents have passed. And we'll be meeting once a week. It's on a Saturday morning at 11:30.
Thank you. So will you be able to, I don't know if you've popped that in the chat yet, but if you haven't, maybe you can do that, because, you know, with the fact that our hormones are already over the place, loss just makes that all the more challenging to manage. Samantha, what are some of the, do you have any kind of like food type things, kind of dietary things that help women through this phase that you could talk through?
I think the main thing to think about is where you start from. So I've been a non-meat eater for about 30 odd years, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. So my transition, or the things I need to think about, will be a little bit different to, say, someone else who is currently eating meat and or has XYZ as part of their diet, or are living a certain lifestyle. So certain things that you can think about is that the body needs vitamins and minerals. Everyone knows that. Mm-hmm. The more natural the food, the better it is for you. If your body is out of balance and the hormones are in disharmony, as we say at MAM, then you need to be fueling yourself properly. And catching a sandwich in between running from work to go and care for someone or pick someone up, and having your meal late at night, or missing breakfast and then eating rubbish for breakfast at your desk, or whatever your scenario might be, is not
the one.
It's not the way to consume. No, it's not the one. So let's look at where you're starting from. So there may be some basic tips, say a hot flush, spicy foods, but that's not the case for everybody. And, you know, particularly in the diaspora, that might be more applicable. But in Africa and the West Indies, what we found is that women are experiencing this less. So why is that? I can think of a few things why. They get to sweat too. They get to sweat better. Mm-hmm. But, and so
it's your lifestyle, it's your surroundings, it's what you're currently doing or what you were doing before. Were you eating meat? Were you not eating meat? Were you vegetarian, plant-based? Are you that person? And often we have that lifestyle where we just kind of like, you know, go from one place to the next with that sandwich in your hand. I think the other thing that I was thinking about is kind of like, how do we manage this at work? How do we manage this thing that happens to us at work? Maureen, do you have anything you want to kind of add around how we might manage this, the big M at work?
Yeah, well, recently most employers have now put in place a menopause policy. I don't work for an organisation, so I can't actually say categorically what is in a menopause policy. But what I can say is that it will not be an individual one. So what we would say to women that are experiencing the menopause is to get some support, i.e. on our course, that we can then arm you with the information that you can take back to your employer, and you can use the language that can ensure that they support you on your specific unique journey in the workplace. Because for many women who are in the service industry, they are having to wear uniforms that is so inappropriate for them if they are having a hot flush. They get reprimanded for having brain fog. Women are put on capabilities if they are not managing caseloads. They are not able to, you know, walk to their bathroom if they're having to take sanitary wear. Everything is cumbersome. There should be things that's already in the bathroom for them. You know, for some women that are that are perimenopausal, they may be having very heavy periods that will see them flooding through onto their chairs, not being able to go to meetings. It can be very distressing. You can be absolutely exhausted. So women have to have the confidence, and this is where we do fall down, is that have the confidence to talk openly about these biological and I suppose societal embarrassing situations in order to force an employer to do better by us. And we will advocate for women. If they contact us, we will advocate for them.
That's really important, because you can kind of feel like you're on your own, especially if some of your friends are saying, oh no, I'm fine. You know, some might say, oh, I don't have hot flushes. Oh, my memory's fine. You know, the low libido, they might be, oh no, I'm fine, I don't have it. But you'll find that sometimes as you go along, these things that you perhaps weren't having, you're kind of having now. So I just want to kind of just round up and talk to you about one that I have. So I'm somebody who's been driving for over 30 years. I drive out of London. I drive all over the place. In fact, I was never, ever at home and probably spent more time in my car. However, how I've now been impacted is that I have quite serious anxiety around driving. There's one place that I can drive to and not think about it. As soon as I get past that place, it just is the most awful feeling in all kinds of different areas of my body. I will be in the car and feel like I need to get out, like I'm in the middle of the room, in the road. I'll even have people with me and think, oh no, I need to come out and go back and leave you in the car. And leading up to today, I got stuck in traffic for about 3 hours, what should have been a 1 hour journey. It was the most horrendous experience ever. And I've realized actually that that's the thing. It's a menopausal thing. And before I kept thinking, why do I not want to drive? I've got a brand new car rolled straight off the forecourt. It's not going to break down. In fact, the car can park itself and it actually talks to me. A bit scary, but true. So I shouldn't really be worried about what might happen. It's not even that I think I'm going to get lost. I just don't like this overwhelming feeling. And if I'm on a dual carriageway and there are vehicles either side of me or too many cars in front of me and I can't see ahead of me, it is the most awful feeling. So I said that to say this, that for women that are experiencing things that are a bit new, a bit different, a little bit weird, we have MAM organisation with us tonight. Take their details down and make sure you get in contact with them. Speak to your friends. And if you have children, please speak to your children, even your boy children, because when you hear them saying, Mum, but why are you shouting? That's a real thing. Speak to your children about it. Speak to your partners about it, because they're going to be in the bed with the sheet on, off, open window, you know, and relationships break down often as a result of this. So I'm going to just quickly find out from you both if there are any last comments you want to make, because it's almost time to go to questions and answers. So we're going to bring Sarah onto the stage to answer some of those questions. So firstly to you, Maureen, is there any kind of thing you want to wrap up, anything you haven't said yet that you kind of want to?
Yeah, I would say that menopause doesn't have to be scary, and it isn't just a woman's issue. That the more we talk about it, the more we'll understand each other and we will have solutions to make it less stressful and therefore an easier transition to this wonderful stage in our life where we are elders, we are wise women, we are creators. We can do anything that we put our minds to when we accept that we are transitioning to a better place.
Absolutely. I love that. I am absolutely living my best life. Well, that's if I'm not in my car. Actually, maybe I'll take up walking, which I used to do a lot of. So, Samantha, any final comments from you?
Yeah, I think our tagline that we're using at the moment is being hot and flourishing. And that's basically what we're saying. Yes, there are downsides, but the other side of it is amazing.
It's amazing.
Yes, you might not like to take the shits that you were getting before, excuse my language, because you have a new tolerance level. But that's for survival and preservation. And there's lots more to being a female in society than just being a reproductive being. So yeah, we've got lots of passion projects behind us, Maureen and I, as a result of this, like yourself, Patricia. The intuition, the creativity is beautiful. That ability to say, actually, no. All of that is just like amazing. Finally, I don't feel as burdened down with the sense of responsibility that society has given me, which actually some of it is irrelevant to me. And I'll just decide to let some of them go, because I'm in my autumn, I can let some of those leaves go.
I love that. I love you too, because there is that aspect of it where there's just this kind of freeness, this kind of, actually, do you want to? No, I don't. And you're fine. Where before we might be like, oh God, I suppose I better. And it's not that we don't have empathy. We still have empathy. It's kind of know ourselves, and we're sure of certain things. And we know that we are just going through an amazing phase for most of us. And for those of you that aren't having so much fun, that have not yet tapped in to your creativity, I suggest you try and do that. And if you're finding it difficult, I suggest you get in touch with the amazing Maureen Anderson and the fabulous Samantha Ellis, because they too look as if they're living their best lives. And I love it. So if you want to live some of your best life, then you're in the right place. So don't go away, ladies, because I'm going to find out now by bringing Sarah on if we have any questions in the chat.
Yes, we do. We have some questions, we have some comments. But before I get to those, can I just say, that has been so enlightening listening to you both, because I remember when I was working in the office years ago, and when I think back, I think, God, I must have been starting my journey about 4 or 5 years ago. And some of the things that you've mentioned, I've kind of been through it. But what scares me though, 20 years? Oh gosh, is it going to take me that long to kind of get through this journey? But let me turn now.
Sarah, though, it could be 20 years of, 15 out of those could just be amazing.
Well, on the whole, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, as you say, the last part of what you were saying about the not just saying no. Oh my gosh. And I'm so glad now that I'm not in the office. That's all I have to say, because I went through a phase when I was just like, I can't face these people. What am I going to do? If someone even looks at me the wrong way, I'm just going to tell them I'm just not having it. So I'm glad that I'm now working from home, and I'm sure menopause is part of that. So thank God I'm working from home now. So turn into the questions and the comments from Angie. She wants to know, how does the timeline support you knowing it's linked to menopause? That's one of her questions. And the other one.
Should we do one question at a time? Or is that,
yeah, go on. Yeah, let's do one question. Let's do one question at a time.
Okay.
How does the timeline support you knowing it's linked to menopause?
Should I answer that?
Sure.
Yes, please, Maureen.
So in our doing the timeline is really important for you to know what things in your life has impacted on what you're going through, what were the stresses in your life, as Samantha mentioned earlier. So in order for us to understand where we are today, like in anything, is we look back, like Sankofa, we go back and see what was going on for us to see how it impacts on our change of life. We know the approximate ages where change happens. Now, the 51, that many women who have Googled about menopause, and men too, it will say 51. But 51 isn't the time when it actually starts. It starts all those years beforehand. And we were both in those earlier years of going through stresses and strains and slight changes that you may just dismiss, maybe the odd period or two being a little bit lighter or missing it a little bit, but nothing of great significance. It's only when you put all of those things together that you then can assess whether or not it is menopausal or something more worrying. If it was something more worrying, we wouldn't be here now.
Exactly.
Would you add anything to that, Sam?
I think you said it all. Context about your journey is important, because your menopausal journey is unique. And we don't take time to reflect. We don't take enough time at all to reflect.
So, Angela, I hope that answered your question. If you need a bit more clarity, please do pop some more information in the chat. Back to you, Sarah.
Another question from Angie is, what is a hot flush symptom? Is it more than just feeling hot at night?
Yes.
If you know, you know, right?
Exactly. If you know, you know. So the hot flush, when I wrote a poem like you, Patricia, it was one of curiosity, but you had to express it. I expressed it as if it was like a heater being turned on inside of me, that I had no control over the temperature gauge, and it would just rise up from probably in my stomach and rise all the way up into my chest, all the way up to my chin, face, to the top of my head. And eventually, and it's seconds, but it can feel like forever, eventually it would dissipate. So you've got the hot flush and you've got the night sweats. The night sweats is when you can be dripping with sweat. I personally haven't had that completely. I've had the sweatiness in the breast area, but some women have been absolutely sodden in their beds and literally sleeping on towels just to sap up the amount of sweat that they that they emit. So it can be quite horrendous. But as Sarah said, when you know, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're kicking the duvet off you and you've got one foot out, that's my thing. I always have to have my feet out at night. Samantha, have you got anything to add about that?
The hot flushes and night sweats, the problems with temperature generally are all linked. It's the circulatory system that's messed up. So finding that balance. So even if it's not hot that you're experiencing, but you're experiencing cold, it's the same thing. And everyone will experience it differently. So I had lots of sweating. And actually, sometimes when you go to the doctors about it, they say, oh, so if you're sweating at night, it could be an indication of, and then there's a whole list of other conditions. Menopause is not really the one that they mention. There might be a thyroid problem or this or a that or a that. Lots of misdiagnosis happens as well during this period when you're in perimenopause. It's the rockiest stage.
Yeah.
Can I just add to that? For me, I had this overwhelming desire to do some really weird things, some of which I still do. Like sleep upside down. I'd have to turn my body to the bottom of the bed. I couldn't work out where it came from. It wasn't something I'd ever done, but I just knew that I needed to do that and I would cool down. Then it would be that I'd open the back door and just run out into the garden. My family are quite used to me doing that now. No, I think the neighbours are, I've got a reputation. I'm a member of the community. That wouldn't go down well. I have thought about it though. But then I've also had the desire to just get into the bath. But when I say get into the bath, I don't mean with water in. I just mean get into the bath and lie there because it's the coldest place I can think of.
That's right.
Or there's the one leg that comes out, or I find a cold wall and put the back of my hand there because then it helps me to cool down because I actually feel like I'm suffocating. So, and it's not that hot flush that you feel when you're on holiday. It's not the Caribbean one when you're like, it is one that is just, as Maureen said, an absolute furnace.
Yes. It's very unique. And you naturally, your body and you will find something that works for you. It's much more of an intuitive change. So whether it's the bath or whether it's the outside, whether it's the lying prostrate on the floor, you will find, like we say, water finds its own bottom. Your menopausal journey, you will find what works for you. And there is no hierarchy. There are no rules as such. You cool down your way. You'll get there.
In front of the fridge or freezer if necessary. Another person's asked about menstrual cycles, and they've said that it's been erratic for over a year, and for 6 months they can go without a period and then suddenly have one. Is this a symptom of premenopause and they're 50?
Absolutely. There may be other underlying issues or another potential issue, but it is highly likely that this is because estrogen is dancing around inside you and sometimes popping off and forgetting to come back to work.
Yeah.
Another lady, sister, they say their symptoms are migraines, hives, brain fog, lack of concentration, right arm pain. The GP calls it tendinitis. feet. Sorry, my computer. Feet. I think they're supposed to be swell, maybe. But yeah, those are things that I can recognize. I can resonate with those things for sure. Are those common symptoms of menopause?
Yes, they are common symptoms and traits of menopause. Again, if you were to Google, they'd say there's between 34 and 66 traits that they have identified. But we believe that there are so many more traits. And again, in having the conversation, Sam and I are trying to make as many notes as possible so that we can add to those lists. It's when we're talking about the detail of our changes of life that we will then be able to categorically say, this is common, X amount of women within this age group are experiencing these particular symptoms and traits. And then they'll have to add to their list of 34/66. All quite normal.
I think following on from Sis there, she says, the convo about psychotic, since experiencing my symptoms, I have said that I have a slight understanding of women who are psychotic. And I think that's a really major thing, because I've met women over the years and they get to a certain age and they just, they are very, they have a very low tolerance. And I think you've talked about that earlier. People who are, you get to a certain age and it's just, no, I'm not doing that anymore, or I don't wish to upset you, but no. Moving on. A question from, is it Ubentu LLU Coffee? As men, how can we support our women and sisters going through the menopause? That's a really good question. Thank you, gentlemen.
Maureen?
Okay. Hello, Daniel. Thank you. It's Ubuntu. They do a coffee Saturday, a great organisation based in Lewisham. Daniel's very supportive as a man. And so how can men support us as women going through the menopause? Number one is to get the education and the knowledge through a trusted source, i.e. through MAM. Come on to the workshop. Secondly, it is not to assume the position of expert when you're around your women who are menopausal. It isn't for you to say, oh, I know what this is about. It's about saying to the woman, how can I help you? And allow her to find a way of explaining to you what she's going through. Be patient with her. That's what I would say. Be patient. Be curious. If you're lying down with a woman, don't insist on hugging her up because she doesn't want that. It's too hot. Do not take her rejection of you personally, because this is the phase of life that is all about her. That's what I would say. Sam, would you add to that? You're alone.
I would say I always like to take a more gentle approach. Awareness is really empowering, but it doesn't give you power. So you cannot tell a woman what she's experiencing because every woman's journey is unique. Mm-hmm. So having a reliable source like our own to refer to give you some of the ins and outs, to help you express what's going on for you and to feel from other people, other males, about their journey. Because it may be that, so I have a 19-year-old son, it may be that he might be in that space, although he wouldn't be because obviously I've spoken to him about it. But, the space is not just for men who are partners too. It could be that it's a friend, a sister, an aunt, your mother. It's men in general. If you love a woman who is melanin rich, who you believe has changed because she's traveling through the change, come on and have a listen to what you might be able to do to support. And also she needs to come on and find out how to self-manage too, because it's not just, you can be tolerant, but self-management is really important too.
Can I just ask, guys, have we mentioned the fact that you have a specific event for men, or has that already gone, that event?
No, our event for men is coming up in June during National Men's Health Awareness Week, which is the 14th of June, I think, that week. And we're doing 2 workshops on the 17th and the 18th of June, which is a Thursday and Friday. The first one is for men's awareness for menopause, and the second day is about andropause, which is the male's experience of change. So,
okay. Sorry, finally, a question on HRT from Janice. She says she does not like relying on HRT. How do you know when to stop using it? Or start using it? When do you think you should, if your symptoms are that bad, is HRT a viable option?
It's interesting because Maureen and I have a discussion about HRT. My journey through my health challenges has always been to take the natural road after taking medication hasn't worked for me personally. And in terms of HRT, it would be the last thing I would opt for. But then my symptoms, I feel that I can manage. Some women are experiencing symptoms and they just feel like they cannot manage. But bear in mind that HRT is like taking the pill. So you've been already on the pill and you're taking more pill. And the cocktail is a mixture. So if you feel that you need that to support you because actually you really cannot manage, have a really good conversation. Know that it takes a while to get the cocktail correct for you because every woman is different, and be persistent in ensuring that you try to get that for yourself. But to know that it's synthetic. So that's what I would say.
I think what I would add to that is that to know the questions to ask when you are going to your GP or to your menopause expert before you take anything, really, is ask as many questions as possible. And again, if you feel as if you are out of control, if you are having, suicidal thoughts, because it's all possible when your hormones are out of balance, is to talk to somebody. You are not alone. You shouldn't keep these feelings to yourself. You must reach out and get the support. It is so, so important. Everyone's journey is different. Everyone will experience it differently. And so all I can do is really encourage women who feel as if they're at the end of their tether to speak to their GP. Do not be fobbed off. And if at any point you need some support in speaking to the GP, then you can call us and we will support you in having that conversation with your GP.
Fabulous.
That is brilliant. So have we got any more questions?
We haven't got any more questions. I just wanted to thank you both for a really interesting and informative talk. And Maureen, thank you for putting up the information about your first aid for menopause courses. So if anybody's interested, please just check the chat, and I'm sure we'll be sending out the information after the event, and the recording will be available as well.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Patricia.
So, well, they're not leaving us. I think they're staying with us till the end.
Yes.
There might be some other questions that you might have not thought about before, and you might be able to pop them in the chat, and time permitting, we can probably do our best to answer those. So, of course, I am going to say that Maureen Anderson and Samantha Ellis, you have been absolutely superb. Thank you so much for the information. And wow, everybody just remember a very key thing is that we all experience this very, very differently. And also in terms of how men can help, which is a great question. I think we need to talk to them as well also, so they have a kind of a sense of what we're actually going. And I say a sense because she who feels it knows it, but just a kind of a sense. And if we can also educate ourselves, that's amazing. If we can educate our men, our daughters, please speak to your daughters and please speak to your sons, because we come from an era where sometimes our mothers never told us, or sometimes our fathers never told us. So make sure that we are going to be the change that we want to see, and that we will change the narrative. So I'm going to ask everybody now to go to their reaction buttons, which is down there, some of the smiley face, and give them a round of applause, thumbs up, love hearts, or a party hat just like this, because they have been absolutely phenomenal. And so I'm going to allow them to go back to their virtual seats. And I'm going to get ready to introduce to you my next guest, who is somebody who is absolutely phenomenal also. So I'm going to ask him to fire up his camera so that we can see him. And I'm going, oh, I've lost him. Where has he gone? And I'm now going to welcome to the virtual stage the fabulous, inspired diabetic, Lyndon Wishart. Lyndon, how are you?
Hey, I'm very well, thank you, Patricia. I'm very well. Thank you very much for having me on this evening. It's a
Oh,
pleasure.
and thank
Honor and
you. Thank you for
privilege
joining us.
to be
It's
here
always a pleasure.
amongst all these fabulous queens, you know? All these
Absolutely.
fabulous queens
Oh, what's happening to
with.
your mic's gone a bit funny there. Let's try that again. Try that again.
I'm here, I'm still here.
Okay, that's better. Okay, super. So if I can remind everyone.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, so welcome again. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you for joining us. Loving your top, showing us your book, The Inspired Diabetic. We are going to talk about that. But before we talk about your journey with diabetes, Lyndon, could you just give people a bit of an idea about who Lyndon Wishart is? Who's Lyndon? Can you hear me?
Lyndon Wishart. Who is Lyndon Wishart? Yes, I can hear you, yes. Lyndon Wishart is a professional chef for over 30 years. Parents of Jamaican descent. I grew up I was born in Hackney, grew up in Tottenham, and I've moved around in different areas since then. My life changed in October 2015 when I was diagnosed type 2 diabetes. And when I was diagnosed, I didn't know what diabetes was when I was diagnosed. So I had all the symptoms of a diabetes, which we could go into. I had so many things going wrong with my body, mentally and physically, but I'd done nothing about it for over a year until
Lyndon,
one day I just
before we go down the road of all of your symptoms, what was your health like before you started to have these series of symptoms that you're about to describe?
Well, I thought, as just like a lot of people think, we're healthy, we're doing okay, you know, we're just getting by, and you don't feel certain things on certain days. You have a good day, you have a bad day, but the bad days would outweigh the good days. But you're mentally, the bad days mentally, so you're finding time both ways, and that's what I was doing for a very long time. And my health wise, to be honest with you, wasn't very good. That's why I was diagnosed type 2 diabetic, and that just proved it. And when I was diagnosed, there's other things going wrong with me as well within my body. So I wasn't in a good place, to be honest with you. And one of the best
Retrospectively, Lyndon, what was some of the things then? Because you said you weren't in a good place. What were some of the things that you were experiencing that was telling you, actually, I'm not in a good place, despite the fact you didn't do anything about it? What were you experiencing?
Well, one of the good things that I was in a good place was when my mother told me, Lyndon, your belly get big, you know. So
happens with menopause.
My mum would see me and say, boy, you know. So that was like a slap in the stomach for me, really, with my mum telling me, Lyndon, your belly get big. And my mum's Jamaican and she doesn't mince her words. So I said, Mum, you can't talk to me like this. I'm the baby, you know, you're supposed to be gentle with me and just ease me into this kind of a language. She goes, listen, look, she said, look upon yourself. And she said, pigs don't know when pigs stink. You know?
Wow, she really laid in.
When she said pigs don't know when pigs, yeah, she laid it in. Because she basically, sometimes we're in environments, you know, that we're going through and we don't realize it. But it's just like you ladies talking about your menopause situation that you're going through. Some of you want to talk about it, like
very good. I'm not quite sure.
She wants to ask her friends, 60 of her friends, give me a feedback.
Lyndon, you're chipping out slightly. Talk now. Let's see how we're doing. Okay, don't move now. That's a good position. Let's see how we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So it's like what Maureen was saying. She had to contact 60 of her friends, to find out, you know, are you going through the same thing that I'm going through? And at the same time with a lot of men, we are going through things, but we just don't talk about it. So contradiction to what Maureen says, we don't want to tell nobody. And I was going through my situation, my own issues for over a year. I had blurred visions, like foggy mind, which we was talking about before. I was constantly running to the toilet on a regular basis. Um, I was I was feeling tired all the time. I was constantly tired, but I enjoyed sleeping, so that didn't bother me. Also, I was constantly eating as well. It's like you'd finish a meal, then you'd have something after the meal, and then you have something again, a snack or something. Then you eat another meal, but it's just constant, and you don't think about it at the time. Also, you'll have pins and needles in my fingers, in my toes, pins and needles. And I didn't know what the pins and needles were or why did I get them. But when I found out that it was one of the diabetic symptoms, I thought to myself, wow. And then I found out that every 22 seconds somebody loses a lower limb through diabetes, So I strongly ask people out there, if you got pins and needles in your fingers or your toes, you got that tingling feeling, go check your doctor for a diabetes check, definitely. Because I remember one year I was skiing so bad I had to stop ski leave, So it could have got worse for myself if I didn't do something about it straight away.
So,
Also,
Linda, before you continue, can I just kind of recap? So you had pins and needles. You were going to the
yes,
toilet on a regular basis. You had blurred vision,
yes,
foggy mind.
yeah,
What was it that
yeah.
made you think, hold on a minute, something isn't okay here? What was the moment that made you think, these are a lot of things here? I haven't told anybody, but what was it?
That day came when I was working in the kitchen and I was working on a calculator. And when I was working on a calculator is supposed to be 1 and 1 is 2. But my 1 and 1 was like 3. 2 and 2 is like 7. 4 and 4 is like 6. It wasn't working. It wasn't working. So I was in my own little zone. I was in my little bubble. And there's this chef making all these jokes, talking to all the other chefs in the kitchen. And I can hear it, but I wasn't part of it. And then he said, Lyndon. And when he called my name, I just turned around and said, yeah. And I just looked him straight in the eye. And I just ran out of the kitchen. And I went into the changing room and I just fell on the floor and I was crying like a baby, because that was the day when that morning, things just wasn't feeling good. I had pains in my stomach. I had blood in my stool. I just wasn't, and I'm working on this calculator, and he just wasn't. What's going on? And that's when I was in a change room on the floor, and I told the chef when he came that I got this problem, I got that problem, I got this issue. I just don't know what's wrong with me. He said, Lyndon, you do one or two things. Number one, you either go home and get yourself sorted out, take the rest of the day off, or number two, you go to the doctor and get yourself sorted out. And that was the day when I thought to myself, okay, let me call my doctor. And in a way, I was blessed because when I rang my doctor, I actually got through to somebody. And when I actually got through to somebody, they actually asked me when do I want to come in, and I said as soon as possible, and I came in the same day. And
Wow.
that's very rare that works out.
What,
So
what
I was I
was
was
going
blessed
through
in a
your
way.
mind? What was going through your mind? First of all, you're quite right. You can't get a doctor's appointment for 2 weeks or until you're recovered. So that was
Yeah.
amazing that you got. But what was going through your mind the moment when you hit the floor in the changing rooms now and you're crying? The calculator's not working. You're not understanding the jokes. You've got a pain in your side and nothing's working. What was going through your mind at that moment?
What's going through your mind is how is around. Am I going to get any better? How serious is it? You know, am I going to be losing my livelihood because of what I'm going through? All the things that is I don't know if anybody's been in a position where they've been in a position where they've nearly died. I've been in a position where you die and your life just flashes in front of you. Yeah, that's what happened to me once. My life was, because I was drowning and my life was just flashing in front of me. All the things that I'd done, I could see again through my short period of life. And that was like, it was like that. The pains in my stomach, not telling my wife, dealing with certain issues without talking to anyone about it, being angry at times with people around you, your family, your closest ones, and not understanding why. Going to people's houses and just falling asleep on the sofa as soon as you get there and say, Lyndon, don't sleep here when you come around. All these things going, what's going on with you? And it's just like, wow, you need to do something about this. And why me? That's that question, why me? And that's where it was when I was on that floor. And when I sorry.
So you got your appointment.
And yeah, so I got my appointment.
Tell us
Got my
about that.
appointment and when I was in the doctor's surgery, one foot was in and one foot was out, because I'm saying to myself, do I really want to hear the answer to whatever's going on when I tell them about my situation? So I was in a situation where I'm going to go home, I'm going to stay, go home, I'm going to stay, and then they call my name. So once I got in to see my doctor, I told the doctor about all the things that was going wrong with me, the pains in my stomach, the blood in my stools. So they done a physical check with me. They couldn't find nothing. So they had to send me to hospital to get an internal scan, a body scan. And that's another journey of my story. And then one thing she said, let's take a pinprick blood test from you, which we call a blood glucose blood test. So they took a bit of blood from my finger, and that blood glucose level was 15.9. And they said that should be 5 and below. I said, what
Wow.
does that mean? It said, you may be diabetic. So when she said that word diabetic, it didn't mean nothing to me at that time. So we're going to send you for another blood test, which we call it the HbA1c blood test, which monitors your blood glucose level for the last 3 months. So that
Right.
determines if you're diabetic or not. So when I got my results through from the HbA1c blood test, my blood sugar level was 92, and it's supposed to be 42.
Wow. So
Yeah.
those are some significant numbers. You're talking 15 and 5.
Yes.
I'm not a mathematician, but I'm sure that's enough for you to be worried. You're talking the difference between 90 and 40. That's quite a significant
Yes.
difference.
Yeah, it was in the danger zone. It was big. But the funny thing about it, when she said it, it didn't mean anything to me. So I didn't know what diabetes was anyway. And then the only thing that made me think it's serious is when I looked into her face and she wasn't smiling. My doctor was, wow, this is high. And my doctor said, listen, I need to put you on some medication straight away. So it's funny how the mind works, And when it said I got to put your medication, it clicked to me, diabetes, medication. And I remember my cousin telling me once upon a time, my cousin who was type 1 diabetic, he said, Lyndon, if you ever become diabetic, don't take medication because there's side effects to it. And I think to myself, really? And the other time that I heard about that, she said, Lyndon, and when she said the sugar get me, that means in the Caribbean, that means the death sentence, because that means diabetes, And a few months later, she passed away. That's when I found out it was diabetes. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, do I listen to my doctor or do I listen to my cousin who I grew up with? Do I take medication or do I not take medication? And I thought to myself, you know something? I love my cousin dearly. I've grown up with him. I'm gonna go with him. I'm gonna go with him. So I asked my doctor, can I try without medication? And the doctor said to me, listen, I don't recommend it, but we give you 3 weeks. Yeah, come back and we'll give you another HbA1c blood test. So from that day, I got to put a disclaimer in because what I tell you is my journey. I'm not a medical person. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a nutritionist. Nothing like that. All I just done was a layman's thing of how did I become type 2 diabetic through my lifestyle, what I put in my mouth, my carbohydrates, my pasta, rice, potatoes, fizzy drinks, all the snacking, all these things that accumulate that builds up the blood glucose in your system. That's what I was consuming on a day-to-day basis. So that evening, I said to myself, Lyndon, you know what you need to do? Is cut down all these carbohydrates, cut down on all these carbohydrates. I went from cutting them out or to cutting them out totally out my diet within the same day. Within the same day. Because
So
number
let's
one,
just go back a little bit, because
if I stay
let's just go back a
diabetic,
little bit, because I think you're cutting out somewhat. I just want to make sure everybody's kind of heard what you said. So
yeah,
basically, you said at that moment, the doctor was recommending that you take medication. You had
yeah.
remembered that your cousin now had mentioned diabetes to you, and he had said to you
You know,
that if it ever happens to you, not to take medication. You'd also
yes,
remembered that an aunt had said the sugar's got her, which is another thing that we do. We don't call things the right names. We don't talk about it properly.
that's
The
right.
sugar's got me. And then we go, okay, and nobody really knows what that means. Clearly, you
Mm,
didn't. Your mum said pigs don't know when pigs smell. I guess that was another indication. And we love our ancestors. We do. We love our parents. But it's about now us re-educating ourselves to make sure that we don't just say sugar, but that we say diabetes. You've worked out now.
yes.
Your that was common sense. How did I get this? And then you said, so if I got it like this is what I need to do. So tell us about that. What you needed to do.
So what I needed to do is reverse what I was doing, totally reverse it. Yeah. So I had to stop eating pasta, rice, potatoes, my mango juice, my ginger beer, my biscuit, all of those things went out the window. I just literally stopped eating those things straight away because number one, what's your motivation? You know, that's number one thing. What is your motivation? We talk a lot about the mental health issues that
Mm,
people are going through. And this is a mental health issue if you don't know which way to go or
sure.
which direction to go.
Mm,
And when they tell you that medication can give you other side effects in your body, affect the other ones, I thought to myself, this is something I can do without. You know, every 6 seconds, somebody dies from diabetes. You know, every 22
wow.
seconds, like I said, somebody's low limb. Yeah. Worldwide, there's 400 million people plus with diabetes. You know, do you want to be part of those statistics? And if those statistics are going to rise and rise, you know, and also I'm self-employed. As a self-employed person and you're diabetic, you know, if you're ill, you can't work. If you can't work, you don't earn. It affects your lifestyle, your livelihood. So
Mm,
this is what you got to think about. Number one is if I do continue being diabetic, what are the symptoms and what are the effects going to be on my life? And that's why I changed it overnight, you know?
you
So
spoke
I
about
went
vision as
from
well,
the
didn't you?
mindset, what do I need to do now? Okay.
You spoke about your vision as
Yeah,
well.
the
You
vision.
spoke
Yeah.
about your sight. What was happening with that?
My vision was there's times when I was just working or just sitting down doing, and I think there's something moving. And I look, there's nothing there. I just got this feeling that there's something around me. When I look, it's not there. I'm looking at certain things and it's kind of blurry, and
Mm,
I just can't focus properly. That's one of the worst things. But you know, a few years ago, I was lucky enough to notice that my vision was getting worse. So I
mm,
started to take some tablets, bilberry, excuse me, bilberry and lutein, which really help the eyes. So in my book, I got a picture of my eyes where they do a retinopathy test.
mm-hmm,
And the retinopathy test looks at the veins, the blood vessels in your eyes. And if they burst, that's when you get the vision, the blood vision. So
mm.
all my vessels were perfect because I've been taking care of them. So I had some other effect with my eyes through diabetes, you know. So
Sure.
it could have been just a mind thing. I don't know what it was, but I tell you something, Patricia. When I started to reverse my diabetes, yeah, when I started to eat healthier, everything, the pains in the stomach, the fatty liver that I had, the blood in the stool, my weight, everything went down, and then my life just changed. I was a different person. I felt so much better. I had so much energy,
Did
you
you
know.
do did you
So
do this
from
within the
from
3 weeks? You were given like 3 weeks. The GP gave you 3 weeks.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. So what happened when I was diagnosed, my HbA1c was 92, and within 25 days, I reversed it down to 77. Yeah, 77 HbA1. With another 28 days, I went down from 77 down to 60,
Mm-hmm.
and this when I started to write the book. And with us from 60 down to 42, well, actually, I went down to 41 within a total of 105 days.
Wow. So,
You
Lyndon,
know?
we're going to bring Sarah
So
back to see if there are any questions.
that's how I've done it in that. Number one.
Yeah, I think our reception is not great, but we're going to bring, hopefully you can hear, we're going to bring Sarah back because there are some questions in the chat. But while she's doing that, while I'm bringing Sarah on, maybe you can get your book, if your book's handy, so that people can kind of have a look. We want people to be able to see the book, and we're going to ask you to talk a little bit about that and tell people also how they can obtain that book. And we're going to get Sarah to just come forward with a question. So, Sarah, welcome back to the stage.
Thank you.
That we have.
Lyndon, I've got a question from YV, and they want to know, can you repeat what you were taking for your eyes? Did you take anything to help with your vision?
Yes, I was taking tablets called bilberry and lutein. Lutein is Lutein. They normally come in the same together. It's part of the same thing. Blueberry and lutein.
Thank you.
Yeah, or they call it, and also bilberry, Bilberry, and lutein. They can find some of these products on my website. They can.
Great.
On the Inspired Diabetic website.
Okay. Also, can you say what you ate as a typical meal? I think maybe they mean after you were diagnosed, how when you turned your life or you turned your diet around, what sorts of food do you eat now to help?
When I started to turn my diet around, I focused on flavonoid foods. Flavonoid foods are foods that heals and nourishes, like berries, nuts, peppers, romaine lettuce, dark chocolate, pears, bananas, lots of vegetables, red onions, fresh herbs. Is a load of ingredients that I started to have. I basically went from eating meat to cut out meat. I basically went vegetarian.
Okay.
Yeah, basically went vegetarian. And being in that place, when I ate meat, the only reason why I really went vegetarian is because when I ate meat, it affected my body. Yeah, it was like beef. I used to love beef. I used to love lamb, but every time I had it, it felt like it was stuck inside me, and it wouldn't come out. You know, so you get to know your body after a while. So what I started to do is started to do intermittently fasting. So I'd have days when I don't eat no foods, just drink water. Yeah. So every month I would do 24-hour fast of just drinking water anyway to detox the body.
Oh wow.
There's a product that I call Psyllium. There's a product that's called Psyllium Husk, which is like a product which cleanses the colon cleanse. Yeah, it's a colon cleanse. So I had to detox my body, my internal side. I had fatty liver when I had a scan. I started to take fresh lemon and lime in the morning to drink that before I drank anything else. And then I just drink that to help with my internal fat.
Okay.
I did.
So do you still drink alcohol, or because you talk about your liver?
I never did really drink alcohol. I never did really drink alcohol.
Okay.
I was that part of my story is I used to go out with my friends to pubs and clubs, and because I didn't drink alcohol, I became addicted to J2O. So I used to have J2O all the time.
Okay.
And because I drank J2O all the time, I used to go to a cash and carry, and a case of cash and J2O and cash and carries it's like £5.20, £5.50. I was paying £2.50 for one bottle when I was going out. So I used to buy cases of J2O. I did. So I haven't had fizzy drinks for many years now. I haven't touched none of it.
And when you talk about being a vegetarian, did you buy your vegetables from the supermarket or organically from farmer markets and specialist shops? Or
Both really, because I don't live in London anyway. I live out in the country, so I got farms around me. So it's amazing when you go to the farm shops. Things are a little bit more. The price are a little bit more than normal shops, but it doesn't make any difference. It tastes better, and you feel better when it smells. That you won't believe, but when you go to a farmer's shop, it smells so much different.
Mm.
When you
Okay.
go into London to a normal shop, it
Mm.
actually smells fresh.
And probably tastes
You're
better
smelling.
as well.
Yeah, definitely does taste better. And when you get to know the owners, you get your discounts if
Mm.
you're if you know if you're playing your cards right. You know what I'm saying? So with me, I was blessed in a way because I used to go there and I used to go there with my book. My local shop started to sell my book anyway,
Oh, brilliant.
because I went in
Okay.
there, I spoke to the owner about it, and I used to leave my flyers in the shop, and I used to go in the shop. I used to go there 2, 3 times a week anyway. When I go in there, all my flyers are gone, so I give them more flyers, and then I
Oh.
sell my books. And I thought, wow, okay, that's pretty good.
Mm.
So I got good rapport with the local shop. So it's another way of marketing your product or or
And
your book, what you want.
Patricia's asking, are you still able to have Caribbean foods and seasonings?
A very important question. I must.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When I go to my mom's house, definitely.
So things like,
Yeah,
because
definitely.
yeah, because our diet's high in carbohydrates, I guess. Are you
Yeah, it's
still
highly
able to?
carbohydrate. Yeah, but what I get this question all the time. What do we do about Caribbean food? Do we still eat it? Do we give it up? No, you don't give it up because that's our traditional foods. You have it in moderation. You
Mm.
know, I remember when I was a child, I had rice and peas once a week on a Sunday, and the leftovers on a Monday. And that was it. Now we eat rice and peas nearly every day. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? We have white rice, we have brown rice, we have pasta, we have roast potatoes, we have chips. These are things we have every day now. Once upon
Mm.
a time, like chips was a luxury. I remember chips was to me when I was a child, it was a luxury. But
Mm.
once you get older to teenage age where you got money, like chips is like every day now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's just the mindset and the control of what you're eating every day now. I don't eat like I eat now every day.
Okay.
What I still do is like my addiction now is I still weigh myself 2 to 3 times a day. I do.
Okay.
A day.
It's just one of those things that you go through, and because of lockdown, yeah, yeah. Because when I go into my bathroom, my scales are right in front of me on the left hand side, yeah, next to my bath. So I have a habit of going in there fully clothed, standing on the scales. Yeah, after I've had a shower or before I have a shower, I still weigh myself
Mm.
because psychologically, I eat foods, but I'm thinking to myself, okay, but what are you weighing? How are you weighing?
Mm.
I generally feel good anyway, but when we was in lockdown, my weight was going up because I wasn't exercising, doing things.
Mm.
Soon as lockdown started to come down, I started to go out, I went jogging, I started to find myself a job, some work, and my weight's gone down I'm down to 81 now, 81 kilos now.
Oh
When I
wow.
reversed my type 2 diabetes, I went down to 76 kilos,
Mm.
and then people was telling me, Lyndon, you need to stop now because I wasn't looking the same.
Mm.
So I had to put the weight back on to look like I'm healthy, not look like I'm a maga man.
Some
you
YV
know,
has asked, can you type the name of the husk for detoxing that you mentioned earlier, please, in the chat?
it's Facilium husk. Yeah, okay. It's a Pylsllum, Ilum, Facilium. I'll put some today actually. Facilium husk.
And
So here
also,
it is.
is your
PS. You gone?
yeah?
Sorry.
Maybe I'll type it. Let me type it actually. What was it? P.
PSY.
Mm-hmm.
LLIUM.
I think it's already. She's asking for the brand specifically.
Oh, the brand.
The brand, yeah.
There's no specific brand that I bought a different brand today. There's different brands out there, but it's still the same kind of quality products anyway. It is. Normally the organic shops or the health shops they sell it anyway. They
Okay.
do because it's funny when I started to on my journey, people start to give me advice, you know, what I should do. So this is one of my friends told me about the psyllium house because it's a colon cleanse. But don't forget, if whatever you're eating now clogs up your system, yeah, it gives you blood clots, clogs up the heart, and clogs up your vessels. All these things, yeah, need to be cleaned out. You detox. So intermittently fasting helps with doing that. Yeah, intermittently fasting, a 24-hour fast, just drinking water, liquid, helps with that detox of the body. When you detox in the body, it reduces the blood sugars down as well, naturally.
Okay.
It does.
Brilliant.
And finally, is your book available as an audio for those who may not read English or who have difficulties reading?
That it's on Kindle. It's not an audio, unfortunately. No. No,
Thank
it's not
you.
not an audio.
And finally, how much water do you drink a day?
I average 2 liters a day, and I'll give you an example why. I got these 250 ml bottles a day. You see, you get people say, "Oh, I can't drink water a day. I don't know how much to drink." Well, if you get 2 bottles like this, I have an average of 4 of these bottles around me. Yeah, I got 1 liter bottles as well. And what I do, I make up my okra water and bitter gourd water drinks. Yeah. So basically, what I do, I get okra. Yeah, because okra reduces the blood sugars naturally. Yeah. I get about 3 to 4 okras. I cut them up and I put them into a bottle like this. Okay. And then I drink the water
Okay.
a day later. And that helps reduce the blood sugars naturally. So you can get these bottles, 250 ml glass bottles, or you can buy 1 liter ones, have them around you, and that's your goal for the day. I go to work with 3 of these, and I've one in the car. Yeah, then I've one at home, and I've one of these at my bed at night time. So when I wake up in the morning, I've got my lemon water already beside me in my bedroom. Yeah, it's having a psychological discipline in what you want to achieve.
I mean,
Yeah.
Another question is, I mean, I love okra, but how does okra water taste? Because I've never had okra water before.
Okra water doesn't really taste of much, to be honest with you.
But is it slimy though? Is it kind of,
it's slimy.
is it the
Yeah, but
consistency?
you can. If you don't like the consistency, you could get around that by straining it off. Yeah, okay. You could add some other ingredients like this bottle here. I've got chia seeds in it. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that. I've got chia seeds in there. Yeah, chia seeds have got protein. It's got natural minerals in it. It's got lots of nutritional value to chia seeds.
Okay.
So I have chia seeds every day in my water. So you could have that in your okra water. You could put cinnamon in your okra water. You could infuse it with celery, cucumber, fresh mint. You could blend the okra water down with your favorite fruit, maybe a banana, your blueberries, your pears, your strawberries. If you could add it to your greens as well, if you want a liquid for your greens. And these help reduce the blood sugars naturally.
Fantastic.
It does.
Thank you, Lyndon. Thank you.
Wow. Well, there's a wealth of information. I think,
my pleasure.
Guys, thank you, Sarah. I think, guys, to make sure that you get a copy of Lyndon's book. Lyndon, you've put that information in the chat, right? Have you put information?
Yes, I did. I can put it again. That's no problem. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can just put it again.
Yeah.
So Lyndon's got some great images. I love that book. It's easy to follow. And maybe, Lyndon, there's another opportunity for you to think about how that can be produced as an audio book, because there was a suggestion about.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that might be. But I love the book. It's amazing. Before we go, my favourite picture is the tart. Where's the lemon tart one? That's my absolute favourite.
Oh, that's on page 70. That's on page 70.
It's my favourite picture. So whilst he's doing that, just to say to everybody that Lyndon has been great in his sharing. He did give a disclaimer that he's not medically trained, but look at those tarts, those lemon tarts. Aren't they amazing? That's my favourite.
Can you eat lemon tarts then?
Tell about whether you can eat lemon tarts.
No, the reason why I got. Yes, you can eat lemon tarts, but you have to be good first.
Oh,
if the lemon tarts are a reward.
Oh, yeah? I see.
And the reason why I got 4 lemon tarts in there, from the big one down to the smallest one, they're exactly the same ingredients. They taste exactly the same, But 9 times out of 10, I can see you got big eyes there. You're looking at the big lemon tart. Yeah. Well, some of us will go for the little
Naturally.
ones. Some other people say will go for the
Why have a
big
big?
one.
Why have a
Yeah.
little one when you can
You
have
know.
a? Anyway, let me
So
not even. Let me not. Let me stop the conversation.
So that's all about lemon tarts.
yeah,
Well
because
done,
the
well
the
done
little
to
ones
Faith.
start. The little one taste. The little. Yeah.
Thank you for all of those questions. Faith, guess what, Lyndon? Faith's book is arriving tomorrow. So, guys, if you want to be like Faith, get your book
Oh wow.
ordered. Her book's coming tomorrow. Maureen says, thank you ever so much. Really fascinating. YV says, thanks also for answering those questions. Lyndon, as always, you're, like my lemon tarts, you're one of my favorite people in the whole world. So thank you so much. You've been amazing.
Thank you.
As always. I know that you're not going just
It's a
yet,
pleasure.
but I am going to return you to your seat and say thank you. But before you do that, guys, go to your reaction buttons and give him a round of applause, a thumbs up, a love heart, a smiley face up. Oh, I can't believe you done that in that time, or one of these. Lyndon, thank you so much. I'm going to return you back to your seat and allow you to rest. How phenomenal was Lyndon with his lemon tarts, his J2Os, and just talking about how using a calculator can be an indicator. There are so many things that happen in our lives that we kind of just go through. Lyndon suffered for a year with some symptoms that were real indications of the fact that he was not well. So one of the things I want to say, whether it's menopause, whether it's diabetes, whether it's blood pressure, if you feel some changes in your body, at the very least, at least speak to somebody and say, are you experiencing that? Or have you heard of that thing before? Google is amazing. You'll find everything on Google. Or of course, go and speak to your GP. But don't ignore the things that you're going through, because the sooner you get hold of them, probably the more likely you are to be able to either reduce or reverse, as Lyndon did. Okay, so without further ado, this young lady, I knew her before she was born. So it is my absolute pleasure to welcome now to the virtual stage Natasha Carriol, who goes by the name of an insurance angel. How fantastic is that? Natasha, welcome to the Let's Talk Show and Venus Promotions Evening of Wellness. How are you?
Great, thank you. How are you?
I'm fabulous. It is always a pleasure to have you on board. I'm just going to hand it straight over to you. What is it you want people to know that's on the call this evening?
Okay, guys. So we are a community where we ignore some things in our lives. And I'm here just to let you know that, we are people who need to think about long-term life planning. Now, we see English people do it, and we unfortunately abscond from our responsibility sometimes. I'm not saying it's you guys, but I'm just saying as a community, my job is to go out there and educate my community about the importance of long-term life planning and educate you on how insurance can help you in your everyday life. So we've discussed things like menopause tonight, and we've discussed diabetes, and there are so many other things that we need to discuss as a people in order to educate ourselves and know what we need to have in place. As an insurance advisor who is FCA regulated, I advise you all to have your 3 pillars in place. Pillar 1 is life insurance. Now, life insurance provides you with a lump sum of cash in the event of death. So this isn't for us, this is about our children. This is about funerals, and this is about not leaving any burdens on our families. The second pillar of life that I think is really important is critical illness cover, which, as we know as a people, we love our rich foods, we love our curry goat and rice, we love our ackee and salt, which we love just living the way that we live. But sometimes that means that we are more susceptible to things like diabetes, high blood pressure, and prostate cancer. Menopause is a natural thing of women, and that is just life. But guess what? The critical illness cover will provide you with a lump sum of cash in the event that you have a critical illness, which just means for you that if you need a time out in life, if you need to heal, if you need to sustain yourself whilst you are going through whatever life may throw at you, guess what? You've got your own back. And this is what it is. We have to be accountable for ourselves and ensure that whatever happens in life, we are okay. So critical illness provides you with a lump sum of cash in the event of critical illness, terminal illness, or death. Imperative for every single Black person out there. Why? Because we are more susceptible to sustaining or being diagnosed with these kind of illnesses or diseases because of our diet. It's just the way it is. We enjoy our food, we enjoy our life, we protect ourselves. The third thing, us ladies, especially with menopause, is income protection. Income protection provides you with a monthly salary. If your job is not forgiving because you're going through your life cycle, guess what? You've got your own back. Income protection provides you with a monthly salary in the event that you have to take a time out in life, or you're sick, ill, you just need a doctor's note. Whatever it may be, it could be menopause, it could be diabetes, it could be mental stability, you need to balance yourself. If your doctor signs you off, they will pay you your own personal sick pay. Guess what? We can take a time out, we're not going to starve, we can still pay our bills, we can still sustain our lives in the way that we need to do so. So we all run away from things like insurances because we think, oh, death and whatever. But guess what? There are so many insurances out there that have livable benefits. And I'm here to let you know what is available for you and your circumstance, whether you have an illness or not. Guess what? You have something available for you. So I'm FCA regulated. I work with all the providers in the UK. If you already have suffered from something like a diabetes, a critical illness, anything that it may be, we can help you because we have access to these things. But if you have not, things are cheaper for you, which just means for you that if you catch these things before time catches you, you're okay. It's a little bit cheaper. So as a people, we need to just think about these things. We always run away, we're too busy, but guess what? Life can catch us at any time. So as an insurance angel, I'm just here to give you the best advice for you. Ensure that you and your family are protected. You are not burdening anybody. It's just about having your own back in life and ensuring that you've got your family's best interest at heart. So I'm Natasha, Insurance Angels. If you would like a free consultation, my number is 07-378-152-808, or you can contact Patricia and she will give you my details. I do deal with wills and trust. So if you do, because I just saw the question come up. So if you take out protection with myself and Insurance Angels, you get a free will, first of all, because you need to sort your affairs out. Trusts, we deal with too. Once you take out a policy, we put it in trust because if you mix your policy with your estate, you may find yourself liable to 40% tax on your estate. And that's not what you want if you're paying into something and if you worked hard in your life. So give me a call. I will help you with your insurances and your estate, ensuring that your children have the best things at heart and that they are sorted at the end of life. But also, God forbid anything happen to you whilst you are here, you have some resources to turn to.
So Tash, thank you so much. I mean, Insurance Angel, I just love it. I think you're an angel. That's superb.
Oh, bless you, thank you.
Yeah, I love it. So can you do us a favor though? Can you make sure that you put your because if we're menopausal, we're not going to remember that number, right? So
I know, and I think I'm going through it, guys. I'm at that age and I'm hearing everything. Wow, you guys have educated me tonight because I'm going through a lot of things in life and I'm like, tonight made sense to me.
Oh,
because
fantastic.
I'm kind of near that. I am at that age and it's just like, what's going on in life?
That makes me really old, Tash, because I remember when you were born. So, hey, okay, girl. Anyway, thank you. You were fabulous. You are definitely
Thank you.
I must be Queen Angel to you then. But do us a
You
favor,
are.
though. You've given some great information. People have found that really useful. You're an absolute angel. I'm going to ask everybody to go to join me and go to the reaction buttons before I turn you to your seat. But I need you to do us a favor, is to... oh, Wivey, bless. She said I must have been 10. I probably was, actually. So I must have been 10 when you were born. Yes,
oh, no.
Probably 5, but that's it. Yeah. So give her some reaction. She's been absolutely superb. So Party Hat, I just love her. So I'm going to give her a heart. Tasha, make sure you put your number in. Thank you so much. Yeah, there you go. Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I'm going to
guys.
return you to your seat. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Take care,
guys, so that was Natasha Carriol. She is your insurance angel. Now, I've spoken to Natasha, and one thing that's going to be great for all of you, especially those that are menopausal or even diabetic and a little bit impatient, she's got the most amazing patience. She will take you by step. She's absolutely fabulous. So do make sure you contact her. Now, we are actually coming to the close of the evening, but we cannot close our event without ending in the way that we do. Now, this woman, I affectionately call her Justice because she's just so fabulous and she really tells it like it is. And she is looking amazing. She's showing us menopausal women that you can just look fabulous with your fan. And I'm just loving your style this evening. So I want you now to join me in welcoming to our virtual stage. I'm going to ask her to unmute as she's just done so fabulously. I'm going to ask you now to join me in putting your hands together. In fact, let's get a bit more energy. Let's get some clapping going on because we are coming to the end. Put your hands together and welcome to the virtual stage, Beverly Campbell, our poetress for the evening. Bev, I'm going to hand it right over to you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm not going to keep you long because I do appreciate it's coming up to 9 o'clock on a Friday night. When Pat told me about the event and what they were doing, you see, even though I've written lots of poems, I have to write one every time you are coming along that actually goes through a memory that links to the subject matter. And it occurred to me that my life must have been very shabby because every time I have to do it, I've got an experience to tell you about. So this one is called None So Blind as Them Who Won't See. From an early age, I cannot lie. I always carried too much weight. Even though I complained sometimes, mainly I just enjoyed what I ate. But girl, extra pounds never stopped me from making the most of my time. Had some pretty man. And if a frock got tight, I'd buy a bigger one because I was fine. I'd encountered my fair share of some fool, ashy skinned guys who thought that they could handle me away simply because of my ample size. Not me, brother. My brain won't allow anybody to make me into their damn clown. And with a machete sharp tongue, I have no trouble in chopping any man down. So early on, I adopted a defiant attitude to my unhealthy weight gain, even when my body was damn tired, a little too sweaty, or just in pain. I refused to listen to the negative voices which frequently shouted in my head, back away from that cake, gal, or leave that extra slice of hard-o bread. Told myself, as long as big size clothes sell on road or online, I worked hard, had good credit, so I knew those clothes could be mine. Now, I wasn't oblivious to the health threats, which did sometime cross my mind, but I tried to ignore the fact that one day soon I might not be fine. So I'd go to Weight Watchers and Slimming World. They made thousands from me. Problem was, I'd lose 2 pounds and had to reward myself with KFC. But one morning, everything was a blur, like I'd smeared Vaseline over my eyes. My optician shook his head and said, Miss Campbell, this comes as no surprise. He told me my eyes were the type that diabetes would make blind, and despite his many years of warning, to my body I'd never been kind. Nothing could have prepared me for the devastation I felt that day. The worst thing was, I've got no excuse. I caused things to go that way. I always prided myself on working hard and having achieved so much, but I couldn't work, care for my granny, or drive my convertible merely by touch. Foolishly, I'd never prioritized giving my body the care I needed to thrive. And then I was being told I had to depend on medication to keep me alive. Real sickness and fear woke me up. Now that I was really feeling pain, and through fear, hard work, and family support, I did get my eyesight back again. I know diabetes can attack those who've done nothing wrong and are perfectly slim. My own son-in-law cannot live without his 5 times a day injection of insulin. So whilst I'll never be skinny, from too much sugar I've learnt to stay. Though this menopause madness is now conspiring to force my waistline to stray. Those extra pandemic pounds have crept on slowly, but boy, I'm fighting back. Because now that I am 60, I can't afford to have my health come under attack. For years, I lied to myself more than I lied to others that I didn't care about my weight. Weird, but I'm actually a little bit grateful that diabetes taught me self-care before it was too late. It's a daily battle, but every morning I wake up and I can clearly see, I know the battle's worth it, as the winners can only be my beautiful family and me.
Isn't she fabulous? And you know, you have finished right on time. That's 9 o'clock.
Sorry, Pat, we know this.
9 o'clock on the nose. Listen, Bev, I can't tell you how much that poem would have impacted a number of people on the call, because you made us laugh, you made us a bit worried, but you brought the words that often people are not able to say out loud. We know often that we've been unkind to ourselves, and we continue to be unkind to ourselves until the day we can't see, as you said, until the day we get told we need to have medication. So I think what I want to say to everybody is that, you know, our guests have been amazing. The information they've shared have been amazing. Despite the fact that nobody is a qualified medical professional, there's nothing like lived experience. There really isn't. There's nothing like lived experience. That said, of course, I have to have the disclaimer that you must, of course, check this out with your GPs, etc. But Bev, that was absolutely 100% fabulous. And, you know, I'm going to leave you right where you are as I now bring back the other guests for the evening so that we can say thank you.
Can I just say before you bring everybody else back, Bev, I think the question that everybody wants to know is when is the book coming out? Where can we find your dulcet tones? There's, you know, as usual, spot on.
Well, the thing is, I've actually picked 15 of them, and my daughter's best friend, she's going to do an online book for me, but they're just trying to pin me down. But as
well, be pinned.
Things are very, very busy for me at the moment, but I have decided. I got to 60 a couple of weeks ago, and the girls said they're ramping. So I promised them I would. So I've got the folder out, and you know, Pat, it's at least 20 years. No Rest for the Women, when you first got me to do a poem. So I've got loads of them there. So I'm just going to pick the best 15.
But actually to say, Bev, that this isn't the first time you've been asked to do a book, and say that actually you do have a book, or you had a book.
I'm not sure if you... I've had 3 of them just for No Rest for the Women. We had 3 different versions. And yeah, I've had 3 of them.
Fabulous. Lyndon, can I ask you to put your screen on so that I can bring you back to the stage? So, guys, everybody has been absolutely fabulous this evening. Natasha's had to leave, I think. Let me just double check. Yeah, Natasha's had to leave, but we will say thank you to her afterwards. I'm going to also bring on our trusted assistant because it's important to... I don't know if she's looking like she's ready. Just can I? Yeah. Okay. Who has been brilliant in helping to keep things going behind the scenes. So I want to say, first of all, thank you to everybody who's attended, because that's really important that we had somebody to share our wonderful information with. I want you now, though, to help me say thank you to Maureen Anderson, fabulous in her storytelling, setting up a really amazing project that's so useful and so important for everybody. Daring to talk about body odor. I love it. Fantastic. And then, of course, we have the beautiful Samantha Ellis, who just told it like it is and shared with us the day that she couldn't walk and how awful that was. But she's just looking superb. You see how you can just look? I mean, Bev's got, listen, we are rocking with the menopause, I've got to say. So thank you, Samantha. So Lyndon Wissart, amongst all the queens, we have a king. You have been superb. We thank you very much for sharing. You made us laugh, and also you scared us a little bit by the fact that you would have taken a whole year with your body falling apart. But we can tell today that you've renewed some of that, and you are looking fabulous also. You don't need to have a fan. You're looking fabulous too. And thank you for that. So thank you. To Sandra, who's been behind bringing you guys in and kind of just making sure everything works well. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to have you on board, and we couldn't do this and it wouldn't be possible without you. And then to the fabulous Sarah of Venus Promotions, who not only does she look amazing, but she has been amazing in pulling this all together. It has been an absolute joy to work with all of you. So I just want everyone else that's listening now to just reach their reaction buttons and give you guys an absolute round of applause. And maybe some
and before that, we all have to include you in those accolades, Patricia, as usual, hostess with the mostess. Thank you for, your wonderful guidance and keeping us all riveted with your wonderful questions, as usual.
Thank you very much indeed. I received that. Thank you so much. Because, if you guys saw me trying to get here in this traffic with this menopause meltdown, I'm surprised I made it, to be honest. So, yeah, thank you very much. And, also to the audience, I just want to say you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Yes, that is recorded. Yep, so you can get all of it from start to finish. I think you would all have come through Eventbrite. So therefore, I will have all of your email addresses. Give me maybe a week or so, a couple of days to just kind of fix up the bits and get it sent out. You just all look so amazing, so I don't think there's much fixing up to do, but I just need to play it back. So yes, the answer to that is you will get a recording. And I think with that, much love. Think about what you eat. Think about the things that's happening in your body. Make sure you speak to your friends. Check out Mam's events that they've got. So the men that have contributed, come on board and ask questions. We adore you for that. Thank you so much. It's been an absolutely brilliant evening. So without further ado, it's good night from me, and it's good night to you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Thank you very much. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Thanks,
Bye.
bye.
Good night, everybody.
Strut along, sing along, sing along, sing along, sing along, yeah, yeah, yeah. Strut along, strut along, strut along, strut along, strut along.